For those of you in the audience who have not attended one of these hearings recently, let me review a normal procedure. Staff will introduce each item for consideration. If you'd like to speak, please fill out the speaker form located on the table in the lobby and indicate the item number and whether you are for or against the item. Please give the form to the clerk seated on my left. The applicant and supporters will be heard first. Those in opposition to the request will be heard next. Then the applicant will be given a chance for rebuttal. Comments should be restricted to pertinent information regarding the agenda item under discussion. If you're an individual, you will have 3 minutes for comments. If you are speaking on behalf of a group, you will have 6 minutes for comments. Speakers should move closer to the podium when their item is being presented by staff. Speakers should identify themselves clearly for the record by stating their name and address. Each speaker should be given respectful and courteous attention. The board may ask questions of speakers or staff members. Information such as pictures, site plans, letters, etc., presented at a public hearing will be kept as part of the public record. If you have something on your cell phone you'd like to show us, we'd love to see it, but you need to promise to send a copy of it to the clerk after the hearing. Otherwise, we have to keep your cell phone, and you probably don't want to give that to us. I will then ask for a motion from the board. Once a motion has been made and seconded, discussion will be closed to the floor. Following board discussion, a vote will be taken. During voting, board members who do not cast objecting votes are considered to have voted in support of the motion. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Adjustment may, within 15 days, file an appeal to the Board of County Commissioners through the Planning and Development Division of the Development Services Department. Okay, we're ready for our first item.
Good evening, Kathy Hamel, Development Services. Our first item is a continuance.
Somebody's waving a speaker for me. You have to give it to the clerk sitting over here. Oh. Oh. Okay.
We're out of forms?
Yes.
Are you speaking as an applicant or as?
Starting off with a bang.
Applicant.
You don't need it if you're an
Applicants don't have to have a form. You're already on the agenda. I'm sorry, go ahead,
This
Kevin.
is for continuance for this property here?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Michael Denzik, I own the property.
Okay, have a seat. We'll
This one,
get with you in a moment.
Put it up for you,
Go ahead, Kathy.
Ford. This item was continued from our last hearing, and just kind of give you an update on it. And this is where the applicant wanted to put a fence, a 25, within the 25 feet of the mean high water line of the lake. So a 6-foot fence is not permitted. He got a code violation, and so he was coming to the Board of Adjustment to get the variance to have the fence within that setback. The neighbor came and said, no, this is an issue for us because it blocks our lake view, and they were in opposition. And if I remember the conversation that went back and forth, I thought that they were coming to some kind of agreement of, maybe we'll take down those panels and then, maybe do an open fence for the rest of it. But the board at that time said, let's continue this, let them discuss it, and bring it back to this meeting.
And as I recall, there was a question as to whether the fence was on the neighbor's property or not, and they were going to try to
Yes,
get that
that's-
settled, because we obviously can't grant permission to put a fence on somebody else's property.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So if the applicant would like to come up now and give us an update.
All right. Any questions for staff?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Sir, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Michael Denzik, 709 Meredith Street, Fern Park, 32730. When I bought the property, I won't go all the way back, but I reached out to the neighbor, Mr. Bush, wanting to discuss the fence, and he showed up and kind of surprised me here and alerted me that my fence was on his property. That was quite a surprise. I paid for another survey and found out that the fence is indeed on my property.
Okay.
And I also provided pictures of updated survey that were sent in just today on here, and it shows that the fence, if it goes all the way to the road, is 0.1 feet on my property. all the way back by the water line, it's 1 foot on my property. So at no point does the fence on his property. This picture here is from the neighbor next to him, who also did not want me to do the fence. I don't know what his reasoning was, but if you look here, the fence, as it stands there, there's no blockage of their view whatsoever. I am convinced they are friends, and one neighbor was helping out the other. The view from the neighbor's yard is reduced by the entire fence, not just the last 14 feet. The last 14 feet only takes a small sliver of his view, and the rest is completely legal. And this has cost me more money now and time because of misinformation provided in the last hearing.
Okay. Were you
I
able,
request to keep both sides of the property with the fence going to the water line.
okay, so I'm assuming you and Mr. Bush were unable to reach any type of agreement?
I reached out to him again. He does not want to correspond with me,
Okay,
unfortunately.
okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
since the last meeting that we were here, have you made any changes to the setback variance request at this point?
I have not.
So the fence request is still the same as it was before us?
Yes, it's
Last month.
it's 14 foot too long, and 2 sections would have to be removed. Mr. Bush was trying to negotiate based on the fact that the fence was on his property. He was trying to get me to remove 3 panels, 3 sections. Even 3 sections would not clear up much view at that angle from his house.
Was there any consideration to removing any panels at this point?
I was certainly willing to do that, but due to lack of communication and due to the extra expense and extra time, no, I mean,
Okay, no,
It's sad.
I'm just asking the question. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
And this might be fairly a question more for staff, and I should have thought it sooner. If the application is denied, how much of your fence, by just operation of what you can do by right, would you have to remove?
I would have to remove 14 foot, the last 2 sections, and replace them with the same height chain link.
Right.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
make a motion to approve.
A motion to approve, do we have a second? Okay, if we don't have a second, it's going to die for lack of a second. Do we have another motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have respect for what Mr. Dimchek has been going through, but I think in a matter where we have 2 adjacent property owners who are opposed, I think it's proper to deny the request, so I would move to deny.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
I kind of agree with what he was saying is that we've always here on the board have listened to the neighbors very quietly, is that they have a right for their property and their views of whatever their property may obtain and whatever you can see. And I hate to hear that communication's broken down between neighbors. That's always horrible. And whether or not it's neighbors or whatever, we don't concern about who's teaming up with who or anything else. But, it's sad, but we've always had a very steady response here and a very steady stance on respective of neighbors' areas. And I just wish it was worked out.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
While I'm sympathetic, I also agree, that we made an issue last week, and one of our continuance discussions was the fact that we were given information that the fence was on the wrong side. That is in turn was provided to us in error. He was at a cost that expended that he had to go and prove that it wasn't, so while I respect the neighbor's, opinion and their view, it isn't their property, and he does have a right to ask us for this, so I'm not in favor of denying the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-1. The request is denied. Sir, you have 15 days to appeal our decision to the Board of County Commissioners. You can get with county staff, and they will help you. All right? Good luck, sir. All right, next item.
Angie Califer, Planning and Development. Item number 2 is a request for a side street east setback variance from 25 feet to 6 feet for a fence in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District located in the Myrtle Lake Hills subdivision at 1030 Vista Road. The subject property is a corner lot and is considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Vista Road, and the Lakeshore Circle side is where the variance is being sought. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility, and the privacy fence will be 6 feet from the edge of pavement, and there currently is no sidewalk located on Lakeshore Circle. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Angie, the applicant in their variance criteria questionnaire stated that the fence was installed in 2014 by the prior owner. Do we have any reason to think that might be inaccurate?
It could have been installed by the prior owner. I just couldn't find any building permits for it.
I was going to ask the same question as well, so we can always ask the,
So yes, it could have permitted, no. Record,
Mr. Chair.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Andy, just for clarification, you said the fence was 6 feet from the pavement. Are you meaning 6 feet from the property line, like the survey exhibit showing?
from the sidewalk,
There's no
Yeah.
sidewalk that I saw on the survey, that's why. I
right,
said
yeah, edge of
pavement.
pavement is the road.
That would put,
That's not the property line.
understand, but the way the exhibit, maybe we can show that picture of the survey with the new fence location. Want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. Can we show that on the screen?
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
I wasn't paying attention.
that's okay.
What are you looking for?
The survey, that one right there, I mean, it says new fence location is 6 feet from the property line to the fence. It's not, it wouldn't, to me, that wouldn't be 6 feet from the pavement, so that would be a significant difference.
Those are the numbers they gave me, 6 feet from the pavement.
Okay,
And when we
maybe I can ask
consider
that.
that, we consider that from the edge of the road.
On our application, they have a request, we have an extra line in there that says, what is the distance from the pavement to the proposed fence?
And that's where they,
And so that's the information they provide to us. And that's a very good point that you make, because you can see the edge of pavement going out from where they're proposing the fence could be
I mean, we're,
maybe like up to 14 feet. So yes, they didn't put the correct information
okay,
down.
I'll ask the question to the applicant. Come on, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Yes, sir. Could you come forward, please? Good evening, sir. You state your name and address for the record.
You have to give the dog's name too?
I'm sorry.
Could you state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Joseph Matthews, and the address is 1030 Vista Road, Longwood, 32750.
Okay. Well, to start off, sir, is there anything you would like to tell us?
Yeah, I purchased the property September of last year, and at the time of purchase, the seller's disclosure had said no code violations. I purchased the property because I'm deaf. I use implants to hear. I have a service animal. I need yard space for it, so it looked like a nice house with good yard space and privacy fence to meet my disability needs. I got a code violation letter that said there was a code violation. So I called code violation, and they said the fence was installed without a permit. And the code folks told me that the fence was installed in 2014, and the previous owner put in for a permit, but then never followed up and just left it there. So I had no reason to think there was any code violation, because on the seller's disclosure, he said everything was good. Somebody complained in the neighborhood. I found out who it was, and I don't think it matters, but I was going to move the fence anyways. I was going to repair the fence because it's kind of broken down, and when I found out, it's actually 4 feet over the property line into the easement. So the code folks told me it had to be 25 feet from the property line. And what I was asking for is to move it 6 feet over, so that would still give me space for the dog. But it would also provide sufficient visibility because it's a corner lot. So the fence would move a total of 10 feet from where it is right now.
Sir, let me ask you this, just so we're clear. How far is the pavement from your property line? Approximately.
The pavement is at least a good 12 to 15 feet.
Okay, so you have 12 to 15 feet from the edge of the pavement to your property line. And how far from the pavement do you want to put the fence?
I was asking to move the fence another 6 feet further from the property line. So it would be about 18 feet from the pavement.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
It was his.
Is that right?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, if you want to look at the survey again, he's correct. I mean, the survey shows the fence was almost 4 feet into the right-of-way.
Right.
And he's moving it six.
He's moving it back
6
out
feet
of that.
inside the property
Right.
line. So, that's,
Okay.
and I apologize, I was just checking. Angie said 6 feet from the pavement, and that just didn't make sense what I was seeing, so.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm glad y'all had this conversation because I might have completely misread this. So you're not asking to bring into compliance the existing fence, you want to move the fence?
Well, I have a code violation, so I have to clear up the violation. But as part of the clearing the violation, I'm going to move the fence, and I'm asking to move the fence 6 feet, another 6 feet from the property line. So it's still a variance because from what I was told, it has to be 25 feet from the property line.
So you want to take the existing fence and move it a bit closer to the property line?
The other way.
Further away?
He's actually in the right-of-way past the
Yeah.
property line. He's going to move it to the other side,
Yeah,
the
all right.
proper side.
All right, yeah, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, sir, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. It's approved, sir. Good luck. Thank you. All right, next item.
Item number 3 is a request for a side yard west setback variance from 25 feet to 3 feet for a shed in the R3 multifamily dwelling district located in the North Tulio to replat subdivision located at 315 Foster Cove. The existing shed is 192 square feet and encroaches 22 feet into the required side yard west setback. Letters of support were received from 7 of the surrounding neighbors. A letter of opposition was submitted from the owners located at 311 Foster Cove. And code enforcement violation, CV 21-150, was issued for this structure, resulting in the necessity of this variance. There have not been any prior variances for this subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Oh, right there. You state your name and address for the record?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I am actually the attorney, Kelly Heedham. I represent Mr. and Mrs. Grigsby, who are the owners of 315 Foster Cove, and they are both present here tonight.
Okay. What would you like to tell us?
Basically, this has been an ongoing issue. We had two sheds that were on the property. My clients purchased the property in 2015. The existing shed, there was a shed there at that time, so they haven't changed the existing footprint. Basically, that one fell apart, and so they rebuilt. This is a 12 by 16 shed. It is not a garage. It doesn't have the rolling door. It's nothing like that. It's just simply a shed that's used for storage and for my client's motorcycle. When the property was purchased, this is a lot that's very long and narrow, and the septic drain fields, Seminole County water lines, everything is already in the backyard, so it doesn't allow for placement of the shed in the backyard. The property over the course of the years, and perhaps staff can talk to this, we did have a meeting with them because the front of the house and the side of the house actually shifted when Foster Cove was rezoned. So there's really the bottom line is there's no other place to put this. We had discussed putting it across the street, but there is my understanding is the folks that are opposed to it are also opposed to that. So there's no other place for the shed to go. And so basically, we just feel that it would deprive the homeowners of the right to use the property in such a manner as intended for residential use. Storage and utility sheds are actually non-intrusive. It's very aesthetically pleasing. 7 of the neighbors actually have wrote letters of support, and they have had an ongoing problem with the neighbors with anything they've attempted to do with the ones that have opposed it. However, they are not the complainant. They're not the person who filed the complaint, and that person is not here and hasn't filed a letter of opposition. And so we would just ask that you would consider the variance. The other one was resolved, and that no longer is pending, so there's only one code enforcement violation right now that is pending for the July 8th hearing, because the other shed was small enough that as long as it was tied down, we were able to take just a little gardening shed like from Home Depot. That was the other one that was originally listed, and that was just moved to the back because that didn't interfere with the water lines and the drain field and the septic. We do have approval from the health department as well that this doesn't interfere with anything by leaving it there. So we just basically like to leave it where it is, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for applicant's representative? Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure I heard correctly. The shed that's at issue, was it existing at the time your client purchased the property, or are they building, or what they have done is built a new shed on an existing concrete pad?
It's not on a concrete pad.
Okay.
But it was rebuilt from the original, because the original basically fell down. It was dilapidated, so the footprint wasn't changed, everything went up. It's just they got a company to come out and say, hey, this one needs to go because it's dangerous. And then they got a new one that's secured and the same size and everything. And the homeowner can, if you have any other additional questions regarding that, he can.
That answers my question. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. And you probably don't know this, but the homeowner might, does it meet the code for being secured to the ground for hurricanes and such?
It does, and we provided that in the variance packet from the manufacturer. So it has the augers that it needs, it's wind
Okay.
rated appropriately, we've met with everyone that we could with the county to make sure that it met all the specifications. And to my knowledge, sir, yes, it does.
That was one of the concerns, I believe, that was raised, is it going to become a kite if a strong wind comes through?
Absolutely not, and we have the plans that show that, and then we also have in there that shows how it's secured and what the augers consist of and what the wind rating is,
Okay.
with the new code, because the
Right.
code had changed.
Right, yes. Yes, it became more stringent,
It did.
yes. Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Please state your name and address.
Name is Jeffrey Grigsby, 315 Foster Cove, Chiliota, Florida, 32766.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I am one of the property owners. My wife and I own the property. And as our representative, Ms. Edom, has said, we've been trying to deal with the shed since last October. And we've been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, paying all kinds of fees to try to get this resolved and see what we can do. We basically bought the property. It had a old metal shed, one of those tin kind of shed, beer can kind of sheds, which became dilapidated. It wasn't safe anymore. We replaced it with a wooden shed that was the same, basically the same footprint. And we made sure that it met all the, the codes as far as being secured to the ground and hurricane strength and everything like that. So, we live in a very small house. It's a duplex, about 675 square feet. We purchased it, and we've been living there since 2011. We purchased it in 2015, and we've been trying to fix the house up and trying to do what we can to fix it up and, be good neighbors and everything. Unfortunately, we just don't seem to get along with the neighbors at 311. For some reason, everything we do is wrong and bad and horrible, and we're just trying to get along. We're trying to be good neighbors, good stewards of the environment and everything there, and it's just, we just one thing after another. The way the shed is, that's pretty much the only place we can put it is right there close to that. If we move it over towards the middle of the yard, then it's right dead in front of our house. We live on a lake. We have a nice view. We'd like to preserve that. The backyard is all drain field, septic, water lines, and power lines. There's really no place to put it in the back because the house sits back so far. So that's pretty much what we're just asking for, is just to have a, like I said, we've talked with lots of neighbors around, and we've got them to sign forms, which we have submitted, that nobody around has any issue with the shed or with us except for the one person. So I don't know what else to do.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for hearing me.
Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Okay. Jan Laycask? I'm going to mess up your last name. Good evening. Oh, careful. No falling.
I'm 76.
Okay, please state your name and address.
77. My husband's 78, and he can't hear very well, so we'll do the best we can. My name is Jan Lycast. My husband, Matt, and I own the 7-unit Lake Catherine Apartments at Foster Cove, Chuliota. We own it, and we live there as well. We retired there. It's adjacent to 315 Foster Cove, the one in question. I'm a retired real estate appraiser and property manager. Matt's a retired senior Lockheed engineer. We've had rental properties since 1970, so Matt likes to say between the two of us, we have 100 years of property management experience. We're both still working on the property. I mean, I manage it and he does the repairs, so even at our age, we enjoy working on it more than traveling and doing other things, just our life, That's about all we do. And that and play with the dogs and watch TV. So we love living in Chuliota on the quiet private road on Lake Catherine. People have asked us how we can live among our tenants, but we have good relationships with them because we've always respected them and they respect us. Our goal is to provide safe, comfortable, and attractive housing. We felt honored to acquire this historic building on Henry Flagler's Florida East Coast Railway, which opened in 1914 as Chuliota Inn. The historian of the Breakers came to see our building in Palm Beach, came to see our building, and told us Flagler had a habit of documenting his building projects with photographs. We have been mindful to preserve its historic value in everything that we do. In the 50s and 60s, the one-story multi-unit buildings, one of which is the neighbors, were added next door so that snowbirds who stayed for the winter could live in those. They're more like an efficiency more than the hotel units that were in our building. Our building was converted from hotel units to apartments in the 1980s. So, but unfortunately, when those buildings next door to us were sold off separately, it left our east property line only 17 feet from our side windows. So our lot does not have normal clearances. And we also have a side porch that's 100 years old. there's a picture in the documents there that shows the side porch off the building. You can see how it was there many years ago. And it's only 7.5 feet from the property line. That's where the neighbors built their shed, and here's an exhibit you don't have. It's just taken from the backyard showing how close the garage building with overhead door and houses a motorcycle. And last fall, a tenant of ours expressed a great concern about there being a gasoline engine in that building and it being a fire hazard to our building since it's an 100-year-old building. And the roof lines are only 8 feet apart. And that's a 100-year-old porch. And that's how close they are. Like I said, unfortunately, we don't have normal clearances. Our building's doesn't have normal clearances to the
Ma'am?
property line.
That alarm going off, so I'm telling us that your
Okay.
time's up.
Okay.
Now, your husband has 3 minutes?
That's it,
If
that's
he would
all.
like to speak for 3, or you could take his 3, that's up to
No,
y'all.
I'm finished, but we have
Okay.
six people
Sure. You
opposed
can
to it, and that's
pass that
all.
on.
There's no
Okay.
exhibits. I'm done. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
no problem. Okay,
I'm just not a good public speaker.
no, that's okay, you're fine.
Thank you.
Hi, sir. Please, careful. Please state your name and address.
Yes, good evening. My name is Matt Lycast. I'm a retired Lockheed Aerospace engineer. I live at 311 Foster Cove, and my wife and I purchased this property 21 years ago, and we have strived to make this historic property better throughout that period of time. My wife and I have had 45 years of property ownership in Seminole County, single-family, residential, and multifamily residential properties, which we have dealt with. Of course, the last 21 years have been at 311 Foster Cove. This particular variance is a little bit problematic in that it is so close. It is visually close. It blocks the airspace. It takes the entire ambience away. Additionally, there are other risks. My wife briefly touched on them. There's, of course, a risk of fire, and then there's a risk of damage from accessory buildings coming apart during hurricanes. There's a metal roof on that. Can inflict damage to our property, and we also have to regard the safety of our tenants and their concerns. So we deal with those issues. The shed potentially reduces property value because as it would be placed, it would be a non-standard side setback, which for our 100-year-old building doesn't look good, quite frankly. It would be better to be at a greater distance. The building itself is a historic structure built by Henry Flagler in 1912, so we regard it as a piece of Seminole County, if you will. The porch itself, I don't know if my wife touched on it or not, is 9.75 feet from the shed, and roof-to-roof distance is 8 feet, which is close. We're team players, you know? I mean, we want to have everybody enjoy their property. We don't want to curtail people, but we also feel that we should be fair to ourselves. So I guess we were looking at maybe a side setback of, again, this is a layman's guess of 10 feet. Currently, the shed is 27 inches from our property line. This is too close. In closing, I guess I would only have to add that it's our hope that we can continue to maintain this property and have it remain a historical piece of Seminole County.
Yeah, we meant to say we would like to compromise.
Yeah, we do like to compromise, you know, we're team players. I don't know if you need to see the other form?
I gave everything to her.
Do you need to see those forms that our tenants and neighbors put in regarding the concerns?
We have them right here.
They have, I gave them to her.
Did you have anything else?
No, I think that's everything. She has everything,
I
Matt.
have to keep that one.
Matt,
Keep this one?
Yep, thank you.
just leave him there, he has everything.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
I've probably said this a million times to y'all. When it comes to property rights, the metaphor I always use is if we're playing Monopoly. You come to my house, we're going to play Monopoly, we start playing the game. Some people have house rules. Fine, we talk about it beforehand. But if during the middle of the game, someone wants to say, hey, I've got to pay some money, and someone says, hey, how about we start putting it in the middle of the board? Some people do that, some people don't. But in the middle of the game, everyone has the right to say, no, I want to play by the rules. And my thinking is on these folks and some other folks, people have a right to say, I live here, I want to continue to play by the rules. That's what I paid money for. And does that perhaps lead to unfair consequences? Maybe, but everybody moved in and paid money agreeing to play by the rules. And I just think in the face of numerous citizen opposition, the right thing to do is to say no to the applicant.
I agree with what you're saying, but it's also, the board stance as well, is that the structure was already there, and it was something that has been rebuilt. And when it comes down to fences and everything else that we've ever talked about here, and I know you got your opinion, that's cool, but I'm just explaining what I'm thinking, is that if it's already there and they bought it, and the lot was already there, whether it was a violation or not, caught or not, it's always still something that was there. And that they rebuilt it.
It's closed for public hearing. They can't.
That they went ahead and they rebuilt. And,
Yeah.
but that's just, that's my.
I think that's a fair point, and the county attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're dealing with a non-conforming use, a non-conforming structure, and a storm or whatever, or the passage of time leads to that non-conforming structure being destroyed, removed, or whatever, by right, you lose the ability by right to rebuild it. So the fact that it was gone means the right to have it there disappeared. And any subsequent renovation, reconstruction, replacement has to be done by the existing code. Am I wrong?
That's accurate.
My position.
Mr. Chair?
But I have respect for what you're saying.
Yeah, I got you.
Mr. Chair, I also, in addition to the fact that the shed was an existing condition that was replaced, second point is, and I know they brought up the storm issues, the concerns about hurricane safety. Based on what I've heard, I would be more concerned about the 100-year-old porch going before the new structural shed that was put down, based on new hurricane standards. The third point is the lot was broken historically. Applicant indicated that, it only gave them 17 feet. By rights, if I read our requirement here, that shed needs to be a 25-foot setback, their porch is only 7.5 feet from the property. It's a non-conforming issue. It isn't that much different than what they're asking for the shed on the adjacent property. So while I understand the monopoly analogy that you're trying to provide, they have an encroachment on the one side with the porch. They're not asking for anything much more than what a similar encroachment on the other side, so, which is their right, and it's our decision to make that choice. So, in my opinion, it is a balanced effect, so.
Fair point.
That's why I would be in favor of it.
Fair point, absolutely.
When I look at the overhead photograph, I mean, the porch is farther away than the shed, but I granted, not by very much.
7.5 feet.
Yeah, it's pretty tight in there.
So a 25-foot setback is, now 13 feet, whatever that is.
So I understand their position, they can't put it in the back, there's not room. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of room in the front either. And even if the variance is approved, it's going to have to go through building permitting and make sure it meets all of the requirements.
Structural safety.
It's one thing for them to tell us it meets the requirements, another thing to have the building department
Exactly.
That's not
sign
supposed to
off
be
on it.
done.
saying so. So, okay. Okay. Any more discussion? I have a feeling no matter which way this goes, it's going to be appealed. So. Yep. All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries 3-1. The request is approved. Ma'am, if you would like to appeal our decision, you can do it within 15 days to the Board of County Commissioner. Just get with staff, and they'll help you set it up.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Otherwise, our decision becomes final after 15 days. Okay? Good luck. All right, next item.
Okay. Item 4, are we on item 4?
4, yeah. Adair.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4 is a request for 1, a rear yard setback variance from 20 feet to 10 feet, and 2, a side yard south setback variance from 20 feet to 10 feet for a shed in the RC1 Country Homes District. Located in the Knollwood, Second Edition subdivision, located at 212 Adair Avenue. The proposed shed will be 180 square feet and will encroach 10 feet into the required rear and side yard south setbacks. Letters of support were received from 2 of the adjacent neighbors, and on June 12th, an additional letter of support was submitted by the neighbor located at 1671 Kingston Road, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
can you pull up the survey on this one, too? So the yellow building in the lower left-hand corner that's got the blue X through it, is that the old shed? That's,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening. Good evening. Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Matthew Petra, 212 Adair Avenue, Longwood, Florida, 32750.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add to the staff presentation?
Yes, please. So as staff said, it is RC1, the country home. It is 0.76 acres instead of the full acre. The prior shed it does have some kind of a footprint overlap, so the new area was placed there for that purpose. Also, the letters in support, those are the 2 affected property owners, since those are from 20 to 10. And so they're fine with it. It doesn't really show, but so for the southern property, which is the side setback, there's a pretty tall wooden fence, and on the other side they have a court, tennis court. So it kind of wherever it gets placed, it really wouldn't obstruct much in the term. Oh, you can see the fence there, their view. And then on the other side, there's a pretty thick canopy. You can see the trees and the bushes. The reason it was a pretty old and dilapidated structure, so we just wanted to replace it with something that's nicer and slightly larger. But also the reason to get it even further away, because it was closer both ways than 10 feet, is to conform with the general restrictions of Knollwood Second Edition, which requires at least 10 feet from the property lines, and I'm precluded from putting anything in the front yard. On the north part of the lot, in the backyard, is the septic system. It's otherwise a pretty thin area and some mature trees. On this side, we have wells, pool, somewhat thin. There's utilities underground, and then you can see in the picture the concrete garden area. In the middle, there are also utilities that run around the middle, some mature trees. And then also, I suspect, when the pool was installed some time ago, they, I guess, moved all the dirt into just the center of the backyard. It's not level, so I suspect that's probably why the prior owners put the old shed there. So pretty much everything that's there that I have a complaint with in terms of its location is the way I bought it in 2020. I think that this ultimately benefits the neighbors more than putting it somewhere. If I had to level the ground and move utilities, you can see there's a lot of openings people can see through. We have a metal fence, aluminum. If it's least likely to obstruct view at the corner. If I were to put it somewhere else, it more likely obstruct other people's view, including my own, if I was going to watch the kids from the kitchen window, like where the playhouse is. As I walk through the neighborhood, I may have a dog in the picture. I mean, I take the dog for walks every day. So through a Knollwood Second Edition, also around the Rolling Hills Golf Course, as you go around, the sheds literally all over the place, and many of them oftentimes appear to be just right on the property lines of people. So it doesn't in any way transgress the character of the neighborhood and its general appearance. So, so it has an overlapping footprint. I think it does the least prejudice to myself and the neighbors in terms of view obstruction, and even people walking from the street too that would be looking that way from the road. It seems to consist with what's already been there in the past, and really the obstacles that I have were not my doing. They were there when I bought the property. And that's, I ask you for your consideration and appreciate approval.
Okay. I walk and bicycle through that neighborhood almost every day, and I've never even noticed this existing shed. So it's definitely not obtrusive to your view. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. We have a motion to approve, a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Good luck. All right, next item.
Item number 5 is a request for a side yard south setback variance from 7.5 feet to 4 feet for a shed in the R1 Single Family Dwelling District located in the Lincoln Heights Section 1 subdivision located at 1814 Coolidge Avenue. The proposed shed will be 128 square feet and will encroach 3.5 feet into the required side yard setback. There have not been any prior variances for this subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Viola Graham, 1814 Coolidge Avenue, Sanford, 32771.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to what staff told us?
No.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Okay. See, that was easy.
That's what she was hoping for.
All right, is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. It's approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Item number 6 is a request for a normal high waterline setback variance from 25 feet to 0 feet for a fence in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District in the Lock Arbor George S. Whitner's replat located at 415 Lake Boulevard. The request is to construct a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence along the eastern property line to the normal high water line where the seawall is located. There have not been any prior variances for this subject property. I'm not sure if the applicant brought in any additional information to the clerk. I don't know if it was the same applicant. Okay, it wasn't the same applicant, never mind. And that concludes my presentation. As you can see, the lot is sort of angled differently, and then there's a carport, and I understand that's one of the reasons why that they wanted to place the fence there for the light and sound possibly, but that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Good evening. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Did you state your name and address, sir?
I'm Tim Lockhart. I'm at 417 Lake Boulevard. I think we get trophies if you're here supporting your mother-in-law who lives next door. That's me. So she's at 415 Lake Boulevard. The reason for the request for the variance is that the property has recently changed hands and it's being used differently than the previous owners. She's 80 years old, so she couldn't come out tonight, but we're going to put a fence in because the people who are using it now, which is their property and their choice to use it, do park their cars in a different manner, and the previous owners were retired and didn't even use the house. They lived in other places, so there was very few cars coming up and down. If you can see the flag lot there, the driveway runs right down the area next to the house, and her bedroom's on that side, so lights would come in at all times of the night. She's not used to that, so we wanted to put a fence all the way down. What you don't see in that is that all that greenery is great, but there's a existing building on that on the east side of the 415 property and the west side of the property that we're going to put up the fence against. You can't even see it. Oh, there it is. So this fence, and I know the variance idea is that we don't want to block the water view of anybody, but there is no view to block because the building is already blocking the next door neighbor's view. So us taking a fence and going down to there isn't going to affect them at all. And I have a letter from Gretchen, who's the owner of the homeowner, which I brought copies, that she's in support of this because it doesn't affect her view at all, and that's the spirit of the rule, right? You don't want to block someone's view from the lake. So we have support of the neighbors. We're not blocking anybody's view from the lake, and you can't really see, but this is probably good. The edge of this building is where they park their cars, and now when they park their cars, the headlights of the car, because of the elevation change, is probably 2 or 3 feet right into her backyard at all hours, at times at night and when she's got headlights coming into your backyard. So we just want to put a privacy fence up. That's why it can't be opaque. So it blocks, and again, the neighbor is supportive of this, and I was hoping for a slam dunk here, that's all.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right, any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
All right.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
I have a slam dunk motion, yes.
There will be a motion to approve, sir?
Yes,
Slam
sir.
second.
All right, and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0. There's your slam dunk. Have a great day. All right, next item.
Kathy Hamill, Development Services. Item number 7 is located at 263 North Castleford Court. This is a request for a side street east setback from 25 feet to 1 feet for a privacy fence that's located in the Wekiva Hills subdivision. The request is to construct a 6-foot vinyl fence connecting to an existing subdivision wall 24 feet into the 30-foot side street setback. And so if Hillary can, so you guys can understand this, there's already, perfect, there is already an existing subdivision wall, and what they want to do is they now want to connect the end of that wall to their home. But there's a 25-foot setback, therefore it requests. Therefore
gap.
it requests. So it's
Okay.
not like they're asking for the fence that typically it's running along. This is running to connect the house to it. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that. The proposed end, so it will be the end of the fence, is 1.7 feet from the sidewalk and approximately 17 feet from the edge of pavement. They do have their HOA approval, and there's been, of the fence, and also traffic engineering has no objection. And this concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Name's Danny Genzier, 263 North Castleford Court, Longwood, Florida, 32779.
Okay, what would you like to tell us, sir?
I think we covered it.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right. You can have a seat. Thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. It's approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Item number 8 is located at 544 Oakhurst Street. This is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 15 feet for an addition in the San Lando subdivision. This addition consists of 500 square feet. It consists of a bedroom, a bathroom, and a living room, and it is going to be encroaching 15 feet into the 30-foot rear yard setback. The applicant has provided to us letters of support, and those letter of support, those neighbors are actually the most impacted ones that are located on both sides and in the rear of the property. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Steve Miller, 4355 Cloverleaf Place, Castleberry, Florida. I'm here representing Mara Padilla, who owns the house.
Okay. What would you like to tell us, sir?
Mrs. Padilla has been wanting to put an addition on the back of the house for the sole purpose of her son. Her son has some disabilities and needs to be close to her, and she just felt that the best way to do this was to have her to actually have him live in a house next to her. So she has requested that just for this sole purpose.
Okay.
I would like to clarify that this is not by our code considered to be a separate living structure. It is considered, because it is connected by a breezeway, is considered to be an addition to the house.
Right. Understand. I see the covered walkway is already there.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant's representative? All right, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Good evening. State your name and address.
David Ripple. I am 523 Ridgewood Street. I'm the house that's directly behind them.
Okay, you're speaking in opposition to the request, correct?
Support.
Yes and no.
Well, I'm looking at you're on my paper.
I
so-
know, it's yes and no. So I
Okay.
have no opposition to the structure at all. And I even told Ms. Padilla that I have no opposition to the structure at all. My opposition is, and which I've got no answer to over the past 3 weeks, was the tree that is leaning over that they're going to put the structure. So they want a 15-foot variance as opposed to the 30. So that 15-foot is going to go directly over, like, the tree roots of the tree that is leaning directly over my house, which has already caused over $30,000 worth of damage to my shed, which I had to rebuild, my patio I had to rebuild, some of my roof I had to rebuild. So I have no opposition to the building at all. The only thing that I ask is that they take that tree down before they build a structure that's over those tree roots that are going to weaken that tree, which is leaning over my house already. That's it. Like the structure, no opposition at all. And I told her that when she asked me.
Is that your tree or their tree?
Their tree.
It is off, the
Yes.
roots are on their side, okay.
Yes.
Okay, any questions?
So, yeah, that's it. That's all I ask. And I've tried for the few weeks to get some answers, say, are you going to remove that tree or not? And I've gotten no answers, so that's the only reason why I'm here. If they had said, yeah, we're going to remove the tree, I wouldn't even be here. But I need to have that happen.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Sir? Would you come back up for a moment? Can you provide us some guidance on this? What is the plans for that tree?
I just heard about the tree today. This is the first time I've heard about it. Mrs. Padilla is presently in Panama. She lives there most of the year. Part of the reason why she does that is because her son is living in the house and it just is not working. So that's why they need the addition. As far as the tree is concerned, I have not been able to talk to her about that. So I'm not sure what to say. Like I said, I have no time to investigate it or find out what the story is.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, to the board, I would like to consider continuing this till next month and give him a time to talk to the owner, because he can't make that decision, and see if she's amicable to taking the tree down. It may be forced to by the structure anyway, just because of the location, I don't know. That's a building.
Sure.
Yes.
Sorry, just, in the purview of our board, can we approve it with the condition, added condition, that the tree would have to be removed without having to go to a continuance?
Kathy?
Sir, it's really, the removal of the tree would be a private agreement between the
Sure.
two neighbors. It is not something that we could condition the variance on, because it's really not applicable to the setback that is before you.
And
That's why I was asking the
Well-
question. So-
Well, my thought was that if they come to a private agreement on this, and then we would have no opposition at that time.
And that was my question to the attorney as well, is, are we correct in that, sir, that basically we really have no jurisdiction over that tree? We're voting on the building, on whether or not, on its merits.
Sure, and, if you all approve it conditionally, as Kathy was saying, there's nothing that would guarantee that that tree actually come down. There's nothing that we can do to, remove our approval or anything like that. So, as I think the chairman indicated, it would be best if they could come to some sort of agreement.
Okay.
I'd like to give them time to talk, and then,
So could I ask one question?
yes, sir.
If it couldn't be to an agreement where the tree comes down, then could I just oppose to the variance altogether?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But I would rather see y'all work out an agreement
No, I
between
have
you.
no issue with the neighbor.
Right.
I have no issue with the neighbor.
It's always better if you can work it out
I haven't
yourself.
been able to talk to her and figure
Sure.
out what's going on so far. So that's the only reason why I'm here.
No, I got you.
Okay.
So it sounds like he can't get a hold of her at this moment either, because she's not
Well,
there.
I've talked to the son, and the son says he talks to the brother and the mom, but I haven't come to an agreement. It's the only reason why I'm here.
Okay. So can I get a motion to continue it to the next meeting?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're going to continue to the July meeting,
Okay.
which is July,
4th?
No, it's the fourth Monday. Hello,
wait for
what's
me,
the date of
yeah.
our next meeting?
I can't hear you.
Why we don't,
July 25th, Yes, July 25th.
July 26th, and 5th, or 25th, sorry. Hard of hearing. All right,
And
sir,
then
if you could,
if there is no agreement, then I can just contest the whole thing?
you
Yeah.
go on record as being opposed to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I
And
think
then
we can.
we'll make a
I have no
decision.
issues with the
Right,
neighbor.
we'll
I
make a
think-
decision.
I think we can.
Sir, can you try to get a hold of the owner before then, discuss it, and see if y'all can come to an agreement? And then we'll readdress it next month. Okay? All right, next item.
Item number 9 is located at 5321 Bristol Cone Way. This is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 10 feet to 6 feet for a swimming pool. The swimming pool will encroach 6 feet into the rear property line. Hold on. Into the rear where it's the pool's water's edge that shall be no closer than 10 feet for the rear property line. The additional information I like for the board to take in consideration is the use of the property that this abuts. It abuts an open space tract that is a retention pond, so that property line is shared by a common space. It's not abutting an adjacent neighbor. And this concludes my presentation. I'll happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Is there I'm asking from a position above my normal level of ignorance. Is there an engineering reason for wanting to have that pool not so close to that property line?
What it is that it gives room for there to be, because the screen can be 5 feet, The pool's water's edge can be 10 feet, so it gives that 5-foot walkway.
Gotcha.
For them to be able to go around the pool. But as you know, the swimming pools now are being constructed in, different ways where sometimes they don't even have a walkway in the back. They just have a fountain, so.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes. It seems like in the past, a common thing was people come in, then they get a variance, and they come back and want another variance, getting closer for the walkway behind the pool. Any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Jennifer Rands, 5321 Bristol Cone Way, Sanford, Florida, 32771.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add?
So when we built the home, we bought an extra large lot, but we didn't realize by the elevation of the home, it would actually push the house further back because we have a long home. So now that we've gotten some pool people coming out giving us estimates, we found out about the 5-foot deck setback and 10-foot water line setback. So that would basically give us a very narrow pool. So we would just like to have a couple extra feet so we can have basically a 12-foot pool instead of a 9-foot pool.
Are you comfortable if we granted the request in not having a walkway on the back side of it because you won't have room?
Yes. Yeah, we don't need to walk behind it.
So if you come back to me later asking for a variance for that, and I say, you stood there and gave me the pinky promise.
Scouts over.
Okay.
No.
I just want to make sure, because that's a common thing that happens. And you
No,
don't have much room.
Right, yeah, no, we don't.
It's not like you have a
walk behind it.
35-foot setback and you'd have 30 feet to spare. I mean, you're right there.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot of space.
Okay.
No, we have our design, but we just, instead of 9 foot, we just would like a little bit of a wider pool so we have a little bit of space in between our home and the pool to be able to walk in the front, basically.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I apologize. I do have a question for staff, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Indulge. And I'm going to ask you to pull up the survey again. Going back to, I just want to be clear that I know the request says it's a 6-foot, but on there, it keeps saying keep 5 foot to the deck and 5 foot to the deck/screen on the survey. And I just want to make sure that, I know we're talking about the water being
Right.
4 feet.
Yeah, so it says allows 6 feet to water. So what we'll do is we can make sure, as you see the 6 feet that we've put on there, we can clean this up before we record it to make sure it's crystal clear what the variance is being granted for.
Okay, I just want, because I just saw
We can do that.
discrepancy in there in some of
Yep.
the numbers, and I just want to make sure that we're writing the variance correct. The other question I had was, is this screened?
No.
Okay, so the word "screen" that's written on here is a mistake. At least
Yeah, it
that's
says
what,
deck
maybe it's, I don't know what that says.
That's not screened.
Oh, so if
Oh, it
we
is?
were going to do a screen when we got the pool, but we're not doing a screen.
Okay, I just saw the word on there, I just wanted to make sure, because I think that would be something we'd have to add, right, to the variance if it was screened?
Well, not if it meets the 5 feet. The screen, and that's what they have on there. They have 5 feet for the deck screen, and that isn't compliant with the code.
Okay.
So if they added a-
That was what I was just being clear on, thank you.
So if they added a screen, it would be dead on the edge of the pool.
Understood. Okay. I just saw 5 feet to the deck, so I just want, we're using the word 6 foot
Yeah.
from the property, but it said 5 foot on this survey, so.
Right, I think they're referring to the 5 foot for the deck and screen, and then on number 1, the 5 foot for deck and screen, and then allow 6 feet to water. So what they're doing is they're putting information on there that they don't need to put our information on. We're going to take off all the stuff that says deck and screen in the 5 feet, and we'll make sure that it's very clear that it's only
Okay,
the 6
that's-
foot variance.
We're not talking the physical edge of the pool, we're talking the physical edge of the water. Is
Exactly.
what this variance is for. It's
Exactly.
6 feet. We're good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry.
No, we're fine. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? You'd be in trouble if you opposed her. Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request?
He just straight up challenged you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve, sir.
Motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
Third.
Second. All right, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Good luck. Thank you. All right, next item.
Item number 10 is at 3015 Autumnwood Trail. This is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 17 feet for a screen room addition in the Foxwood development. The applicant is proposing to construct a 337 square foot covered screen room addition that will encroach 13 feet into the 30-foot rear yard setback. The additional information I'd like for you to consider with this variance request is that this home backs up to Sand Lake Road, and so there are no neighbors that are immediately behind them. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I got to go back to the survey again, I'm sorry.
Let's do it.
I just want to, I'm confused about what the 42-foot dimension is to.
So Hillary Payton, Planning and Development. The rear yard property line is actually that dark line in the middle of the backyard. There's a tract that it abuts, which they've kind of taken over and added things in there. So that measurement is to the actual property line, not to the 42, I think that says, is to the back of the tract, not
Okay.
to the actual property line.
They don't own tract A.
Correct.
Or whatever
Yeah.
that is.
If you look in this picture here, you can see that tract back there.
Looks like they're not alone either. The neighbors took over the track too. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Is the applicant present?
Thanks, Hillary.
Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Yes. Weldon Larve, 3015 Autumnwood Trail, Apopka, Florida, 32703.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
Just want to put the walls, regular room, where is an existing Florida room, and screen, Florida room. The original measurements are 10 by 13. We just want to make it wider on the sides. That's it. It's no neighbors in the back of the house. It seems that my neighbor on the left side has a screen, same screen room, Florida room. We're asking you to consider if we can just build the Florida room with the window, doors to the existing screen Florida room.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
This is an existing screen room that you're enlarging?
Yes, on the sides.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion approved. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. It's approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Next item is item number 11. It's located at 192 Washington Circle. It is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 20 feet to 8.5 feet for a screen porch addition in the planned development known as Willowbrook Village subdivision, and it's within the Heathrow subdivision. The request is to construct a 647 square foot covered screen porch addition, approximately 11.5 by 20 feet into, or approximately 11.5 feet into the 20-foot rear yard setback. The proposed screen room encroaches into a landscape easement owned by the HOA, and the HOA has provided us a letter of no objection to that easement. I would also like to add that this property also abuts Lake Mary Boulevard, to take that into your consideration also. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Please state your name and address.
Edward Berger, 192 Wimbledon Circle, Lake Mary, Florida, 32746.
Okay, what would you like to tell us?
So I have letters from both neighbors next door on either side supporting the addition of the porch. Here you go. And I'd just like to add that you can see there are all the homes are in a row. There is a wall that separates us to Lake Mary Boulevard. Just about all of my neighbors have extended their homes with a porch or a screened pool or something like that. We're just basically asking for the same kind of variance. And I'm hoping you're still in the slam dunk frame of mind.
We only have so many that are good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
To piggyback on something you had just said, and in taking a look at the aerial of your neighbors, is what you're requesting basically, if I look left and right with your neighbors, just consistent with what everybody else has out there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's why they were so readily agreeable, because they have the same thing.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve, a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, next item.
Next item is item number 12. It's located at 1269 Floral Way. This is a request for a side yard setback variance from 7.5 feet to 5 feet for an accessory structure in the R1A zoning classification, which is known as Paradise Point subdivision. The applicant is proposing to construct a 1,136 square foot metal building, storage building for boat and vehicle storage that will be 2.5 feet from the 2.5 feet into the required 7.5 feet side yard setback. A letter was received from a neighboring property stating that he has no objection. This neighboring property is not beside him. It is like catty corner to his property line on the abutting street. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present?
Jasmine.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're getting there.
Let's keep that slam dunk rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, please state your name and address, sir.
Jason Newton, 1269 Floral Way, Apopka, Florida, 32703.
Okay, what would you like to tell us?
Really, just what she said. You know, we're just looking to build a building on our property to store our boat and camper in. Just try and keep it out of, we're kind of surrounded by trees, and just try to keep things, you know, not covered in leaves all the time and sticks falling out of the neighbor's trees. I've got it set, I've got it temporary right now, one of those put together poles with a silver tarp, and that's what the neighbor on the northeast corner is the one that sent the letter in. I've talked to him, the tarp kind of reflects on the back of his house, and I told him, I said, no, we're working on building a building, trying to get that going, and it's actually, the building will be at the front where the fence line is, so it would be no reflection of anything on his house, the back of his house right now. That's about it. We've looked at trying to place it different places, and that's the best we can come up with. I can't put it beside of the house on the north side because my septic tank is out there, my drain field. I would be crossing a drain field to enter the building. I can't put it on the south side because would be even less setback there than the 5 feet we're asking. We're asking to reduce it 2.5 feet so that we can get, my well is behind my garage. So I have to be able to get a well truck through there if I have to have a pump replaced or something like that.
My neighbor can attest to what happens if you drive across a septic tank.
Yeah. It's
Bad things, man.
Well, the vehicle ended up in the septic tank.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That would be bad.
yes. All right, any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, we have a second?
Second?
We have a second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0, good luck. It's approved. All right, next item.
Next item, item number 13, 205 Palmetto Concourse. This is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 20 feet for an addition. The addition is a 320 square foot closet and hobby room that will encroach an additional 10 feet into the 30-foot rear yard setback. A letter was received from the Sweetwater Oaks Homeowners Association in opposition to this request as it conflicts with their covenants. This concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? All right, is the applicant present? Okay.
Oh, there's no.
Do we want to
he's in the
continue
back.
this?
That's that guy I bring home with me every night.
Yeah. Would we like to continue this or go ahead with this now?
Mr. Chair, I'd kind of like to continue it because I'm taking a look at what's written in the association's letter, and I have questions, and there's no one to answer it.
There you go.
I will second that.
Mr. Chair, I agree with the continuance, but I do have a question. Typically, we really don't take into consideration whether an HOA approves it or not. Why would we consider what the HOA covenants are?
Well, I'm curious, and the reason I say that is they say things like the setback should be established 30 feet back, the line should be parallel to the property line at an angle, and they make a number of factual assertions that I don't know if that's accurate or not, and I'd love to hear what the applicant says.
And that's why I was asking.
Well,
Yeah.
the way I've always looked at it, we are not bound by what the HOA wants for or against something. But they are property owners in the area. They have a right, just like any homeowner next door, to speak their mind.
Yeah, I think if they made some bald assertion, that's one thing, but they're making several factual
Yeah, no,
assertions
I'm asking
there.
for my own benefit here.
But
Why?
we're not, by any ways, if we decided to approve it, the fact they didn't like it's inconsequential and vice versa. They could approve it and we could deny it.
I spoke with the HOA after he sent that in. He also called me as well to confirm that I received it, and I explained to him how our setbacks were different from theirs, how they measure their own setbacks for their community is different. So I explained that to them, and he understood, but of course was still in opposition, so.
I mean, it's entirely possible for it to meet the county requirements and not meet the homeowner's requirement.
Oh, yeah, because they have aesthetic issues.
Yeah, no,
And then
I'm-
becomes a legal
I'm not
issue
arguing,
between them and-
President, I'm just asking the question.
Yep. All right, so do we have a motion to continue?
We do. So made.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, it's continued.
I made it.
Okay? All right, item 14, is my understanding, has been continued by the applicant.
Yes, we just need a motion from the board to continue it because we did advertise it, so it needs to have a formal continuance.
Do we have a motion to continue it?
I will go ahead and make a motion to continue.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? We have a second down in the middle.
Hey, Mr.
Can
Chair.
you like raise your hand? Let me.
I made a motion.
I saw you.
Okay,
I
just making
can only
sure.
raise my left hand, but the right hand doesn't work well.
Stop the crowd.
Always an
Okay.
excuse, jeez.
Any discussion? It's getting too late, y'all.
Mr. Chair.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, is continued. All right, we don't have any minutes, we're going to do double minutes next time.
Yes, we apologize. We will give you double minutes next time.
All-
Okay, and I have one other thing I wanted to do before we go. As everybody, I think, is aware, Ashley passed away unexpectedly recently, and I would like to take a moment of silence for her. Amen. If y'all need anything, seriously, all you have to do is ask. I know it's hard. All right, we're adjourned.
So tell a septic tank story.